Hello and welcome. Today we've got Michael Jaco, former CIA and Navy SEAL, and today we are going to be discussing the race to awaken humanity before we're enslaved forever. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at nicholas.veniamin, where you can follow all my newsreels. Michael, thank you so much for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Doing great, Nicholas. Thanks for having me on again. Just trying to keep up on what's going on in the world. Like we're talking about in the title, it's really a race to awaken humanity, so that we're not permanently enslaved. If we go back in time, we look at the Kali Yugas, the Hindus, basically 6,000 years BC. They're writing about these times in humanity's consciousness where there's golden ages, bronze ages, tin ages, dark ages, ages of light, so forth. It seems to be, and the Greeks had the same philosophy as well, golden ages and dark ages and so forth. And we look at the Renaissance being the awakening from a dark age to a new renaissance of consciousness. So it's a constant process, and I think that we move through a galactic areas where we have more magnetism and electricity and so forth. Now, the human body itself, every cell has 1.4 volts of electricity, each cell. So we have 50 trillion cells. So that's like 50 lightning bolts that we have within our body. So we are very energetic beings as it is, but keeping that energy suppressed and controlling that energy seems to be what the people that are dark try to harness that and use us, like we're talking about, as slaves. So getting to the point where we have this consciousness shift, like a Jesus or a Buddha or so forth, both of them were at the tail end of an age, and then we went into a darker period. So we're coming out of that darker period into a period where there is light, where there is more energy, where there is more a golden age, if you will. So that's where we're at. We're out on the cusp of that. Now, what day that starts, what time that starts, that's up to anybody's guess. But I think that that's being suppressed right now. They're trying to drive us into another world war. We've had several of these already. We had World War I, World War II. Those were very close to, I believe, awakenings of humanity's consciousness, and it was suppressed. This time, I don't think they're going to be successful, but possibly they will be. So that's what we need to be aware of. I think, Trump basically stepping back and letting more people awaken to, the dark controllers and what they're trying to do. Everybody all the leadership throughout the world pretty much was against Trump. So when he took a step back, that's probably a good thing, because they probably would have come out with a war right then if he hadn't. So they were talking about it, and if he didn't win, he would probably try and stay there anyway. They were saying that months and months before the election. So they're trying to lay the scene, trying to lay the stage, and trying to force humanity's consciousness into a dark realm. So I think a lot of people are waking up to that. From the vaccination program and all these other things, we're starting to awaken, from these manipulations, and it's really, really, I think, is what's setting the stage for this beautiful golden age coming up.
It's becoming a very common when I speak to people. They say to me, they like Trump. They're waking up to the vaccines. They're waking up to how corrupt the media is, the taxes we have to pay. They're waking up to a lot of things, and everyone's becoming political now. They're taking interest. What would you say people were like back in the 70s? Would you say they were awake as they are today? Did they have that kind of interest back then?
No, definitely not. So I grew up in the 60s and 70s. That was definitely not something that was normal. Just giving an example, when I came out with my book in the 2000, I think it was about 2010 is when I came out with The Intuitive Warrior. I thought, all right, so if I can figure it out, everybody's going to get this and everybody's going to love this information. But it's been a slow go. 13 years later, I never thought it would be, I'm still trying to get people to become intuitive. It seemed like it was like we're on the cusp of something, but it's the suppression is so severe and so extreme, that even though there's a lot of people that are coming, I mean, look at Jesus. I mean, when he came out, he was suppressed, obviously, crucified and so forth. It's taken a long time for people to get to the point where they realize what he was trying to come out with. I don't think we have to wait that long, for people that are really trying to bring consciousness along. Trump, I think, is one of those people that are, slowly, methodically, very strategically helping people to wake up. So we're saying today he went to a New York court where it's kangaroo court. I mean, everybody can see that at this point. They're trying to get him for inflating the prices of his real estate so he can get better bank deals. So I don't think the banks have a problem with that. The banks made a lot of money, and they're not trying to take him to court. It's the people that are trying to suppress his capability of awakening people. So here in the United States, there's more people that are on the side of Trump than at any time ever. So that's going to continue to grow. At some point, I believe, in the very near future, he steps back in to prevent us from going into this World War III.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think that's going to happen? Do you think he's going to overturn the election? Do you think there won't be an election? What do you think?
Yeah, there's no way we can get to the election because we won't have another election as long as these criminals are running the show. So we're seeing today, I think it was today, that Zelensky is requesting that Trump come and stop the war in 24 hours, because Trump has said that he would stop the war if he were president, of course, because he would have that backing, that power to help make that come about. But it seems like either Zelensky's taunting him or he's not getting the support that he was getting before in the past. So he's desperate. And he's like, well, maybe Trump can come over here and stop this in 24 hours. So we're starting to see that. Is he now seeing that President Trump really is the commander in chief? Because I believe, at some point, the world is going to have to face that fact, that Trump, although he stepped back from, a machine that was coming in to take over this country and has been taking over this country for a long time. It's corporate type of, dark state that most of us in the world are under right now. I think he took a step back, but he still has the power and has maintained that power to at any time come in and stop things from getting out of control.
Mm-hmm. Back in the day, they never used to think about, manifestation and the laws of the universe, with being positive, and like we are today, we've had The Secret come out quite a while ago, maybe longer than a decade ago. You got The Magic, these books that teach about manifestation and how to channel your thoughts and have love. And these are the principles that we learn in the Bible and in other religions. They just divide us, but they all teach the same principles. What was that like back in the 70s?
There was there was a lot of that coming out like you're talking about. But when I look back on it today, I see that some of it is misdirection. Some of it is giving some truths, but basically manipulation as well in the narrative. And a lot of that's been exposed over time. That's why a lot of that stuff is not, no. If it was so monumentally, awakening consciousness at this point, those types of ideas would be monumentally accepted across the board. But no, we've seen there's been some types of manipulation through that, and same thing with religions. Most of the religions, try and teach people how to awaken to, their connection to God's source. But there's manipulations through all those. We're seeing a lot of people are being exposed, especially here in America, that are in religious circles, are involved in pedophilia, are involved in, all kinds of evil activities. We've seen the same thing with the Catholic Church. You know, a lot of the cardinals and so forth have been exposed as child trafficking and all just horrific things. So I think that we're starting to pull away from those control systems that keep us locked into lower consciousness states, and that's part of the Enlightenment. So you look at a Jesus or a Buddha, both of them went through. I mean, they were Jesus. I think at the point where he was crucified was 33, and then you look at Buddha, he was in his 80s. So it took both those men, a period of time to go through, spiritual enlightenment processes and so forth to get there, but they did it in a lifetime. That's rare today. You don't see very many people, if anyone, at this point reaching the enlightenment. But that is a possibility that any one of us can reach enlightenment. It doesn't matter whether it's a dark age or a golden age or whatever the age is. Anyone can reach those levels of enlightenment. But as the pressure from these dark ones that are trying to control us they lose their power, which a lot of people, like we're talking about, are waking up to their control systems. That allows us to push that off and then start to make progress in the area of enlightenment and reaching these levels of consciousness that I think will throw them off of us forever. So that is where we're moving. It's these golden ages last thousands of years. It is a process of moving into them. I think that most of us will start to experience these golden age. I feel like I've already experienced some of this already, but I feel that there's a lot more, that many of us are going to experience going forward.
Interesting. So, what kind of things do you think we'd be experiencing when we're moving into the golden age?
Yeah, a lot of us are starting to experience it already, as far as like the intuitive abilities, the knowing of things, communication with each other over long distances. That's real super basic stuff. I think a lot of people have experienced that. They've thought of someone, and then the phone rings, it's that person. So a lot of us, already have a lot of these experiences happening to us already. Recognizing that and connecting with that is one of the things that speeds that process up. So once you see that or notice that or experience that, instead of dismissing it, say, I like more of that. And that basically will start to bring it to you. I see, the levitation. There's been saints that have levitated over the years. There's many experiences of that. People becoming, having those abilities, manifesting on a faster and faster basis. I've noticed that in my life. If I really focus on something now and don't let negative things come in, focus on that to the exclusion, it manifests much faster. I think that not manifesting things at a very fast pace is probably a good thing for some people out there. We don't want people that are very evil to manifest on a very quick and fast level. And the people that are still playing with this stuff and then have angry moments, we don't want them to manifest very quickly either. So that is why, people are like, I don't know. Well, yeah, it will happen. And it is happening for many of us, but it's not going to happen for everyone until we reach further into this golden age and we throw off these control systems that keep our consciousness down, make us angry, fearful, and so forth.
In the 17th letter of the alphabet, Q, says that Israel will be last. What do you think that means? Do you think things are going to change after this point?
Oh, absolutely. So Israel will be last. Basically, Israel will be exposed, for the control system that they are. So you look here in the United States, pretty much and I'm not knocking any religion, not knocking any Jews, Christians, Muslims, you name it, religion. I'm not knocking them. We just have to recognize there are certain groups within religions that hide behind religions and so forth. Just like I talked about, we see the Catholics, or there's a lot of pedophilia going on in there. So if you look at here in America, it's almost like we are a Jewish state. We have most of our politicians have dual citizenships or Jewish. Same thing within the media system, whether it be the mainstream media, the news and so forth, pretty much populated almost exclusively in the higher level positions by Jewish people, or at least people that claim to be Jewish. And you see the same thing in Hollywood. You see the same thing in the music industry, on and on and on. So if that is the case, and that has been pointed out by a lot of people over time, Israel will be last means that Israel will be exposed from that point, the collapse of that dark system that is all over the world will happen. So Israel is trying to fulfill biblical prophecy. So we have to look again. You look at some of these biblical works, or these philosophies and so forth that have stretched out throughout time. How many of them have been manipulated over time? So, and how many of them are actually, when you look deeper at them, are not so good. You look at the Samson option. The Samson option for Israel is where, if they get to the point where they feel that Israel as a state is threatened, they will use nuclear activity to protect themselves and just kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at Samson when he was in the temple, basically Delilah, coerced him into revealing that his strength came from his hair. So they shaved his head, blinded him, and then he was being led around by a little boy in a temple, the Dagon temple, which is
I remember this film. Yeah,
which was basically a fish temple to the fish. Now there's a lot of stuff that comes from the fish, the merman, and if you look at the Dogon tribe in Africa, there's a lot of stuff there about this fish thing. But we see people that are in fish scales and uniforms throughout time, and carvings and so forth. So there's something there, but we're not going to go too deep into that kind of stuff. So that's extraterrestrial type stuff that has been happening over time. So he's in this temple. He gets this little boy to leave him in between these two pillars, and he pushes the pillars apart, and he kills thousands of Philistines. He asks God for strength this one last time, so he can. God gives him strength to kill thousands of people, because we're seeing the same thing happen right now in Gaza. So the Israelis, the Philistines, that was in the area of Gaza, where that temple was. So these things are being, repeated over time. That is not a positive thing, where, women, children, and old men, so forth, in the temple are being killed. So why are we repeating it again?
mm-hmm.
So that Israel will be last. Israel is going to be revealed for the evil that it is, and then we stop this.
I remember this film, but I've watched it so many times as a kid. But I never understood why he wanted to kill all those people. Why God would give him that power if God was pure and love.
Good point. So I mean, that's why I say there's there's a dark ages and there's ages of light. So that was a dark age time. So God was very vengeful, angry God. So they're trying to bring up that part of God. Was that really the God of love? No, of course not. So what God was that? So was that some kind of evil God? Perhaps. So we need to look at everything. I say, if you look at something from the heart, from love, and using your connection with your mind, if you look at it and it feels right, it's going to serve humanity. It's not going to kill humanity like Israel's doing right now on a massive scale. And people are like, supporting that all over the world. And then there are people that are standing up against that. Now, that is the next phase of this operation, I believe. So we saw here in America where we had a lot of Palestinian protesters, or at least not necessarily Palestinian, but supporters that were marching in Washington, D.C. Estimates are 300,000. Now, I was there for January 6th when Trump had called for people to come and peacefully protest. And after his speech, he said, peacefully go down to the Capitol. Trump knew that that was coming because he delayed. I've been to many of his events. I've never seen him delay that, and I felt something's up here,
Hmm.
and he delayed coming out. So that would, they thought that because Trump is always on time, that everybody will be down to the Capitol, and when they, activated their event, which they did, they being the evil ones, it would be more people there, more people would be, involved in it or be wrapped up in it and so forth. So, he was aware of that. He helped stop it out. Now we're at the point where we're going to have another event like that, but it's going to be extremely evil, like we had with the George Floyd riots, which I think were basically planning stages for what they have right now. So Palestinian protest, I've been all over the Middle East. I spent a good portion of my career, 35 years, in the Middle East. Every time I saw a demonstration, like we're starting to see, they always ended in violence, right? They were just a precursor to what would be violence. So I've been predicting that is coming. It'll probably come to your country. That will come to this country here in the United States. It will come to many countries, France included, obviously, because they have a very large Muslim population there as well. A lot of support for this, Palestinian revolt. So like I said, it always ends in violence. Now, I think a lot of this violence will be supported by the evil ones. All right. So there's this back and forth. There is no side to this. Either side that goes violent is wrong, period. All right. If President Trump was here, like, Zelensky's like, please come here and stop the violence. Because Trump said I would stop it in 24 hours. Look at Trump when he was a president. There were no wars. The first time probably in United States history that we weren't at war. So we want him to come back. If he comes back, he will stop the violence that's going to come. So the FBI just released a report here in the United States, which outlined several large cities: Tampa, New York, Miami. I don't think they said Miami, but almost all the big cities in California, up and down the East Coast, East and West Coast, in the midsection of the United States, big cities, and usually almost all of them are Democrat cities. All of these cities are under threat of Hamas attacks, Hezbollah attacks, radical terrorist attacks. This has not happened. I fought for decades, to stop terrorist attacks, and I was part of, taking out a lot of terrorists. And now we're going to have it again. It's ridiculous. It's BS. So this is part of Israel, Jewish Mossad type of activity. Mossad activity was there during 9/11. Mossad activity has been involved in probably every terrorist activity that's happened around the world, actually. So Israel will be last. Israel is going to be exposed. Israel is going to be, or at least the evil side of that is going to be exposed and stopped.
Very interesting. Well, I can't wait for all to be over. And that's what I say to people who are not sure about Trump. The first thing I say is he's never gone to war, and that's when they can't say anything. And I start telling them more, and we get into a conversation, and then I've almost flipped them into Trump. Very interestingly. But Michael, Jaco, thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Yeah, and you don't go to war if you're, in that state of consciousness of love. So I think that's what Trump embodies. That's what he projects, and I think that's what we want going forward. So anyone that's purveying anything other than that, I would not follow them. I would not pay any attention to them. We need to shut all that down.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Michael, and we'll speak again very soon. You take care, and bye-bye.
You too, next. Thank you.